Welcome back to Tactics Talk with Guido. Thanks for tuning in. On this episode, we have a review of the new premium light tank for the US, the T92 Tier 8 Premium Light Tank. Just released. Was on sale for 1 day, so that was during the Advent event for Christmas. Whether or not it goes on sale regularly later remains to be seen, but I ended up picking one of these things up. So it's a Tier 8 Premium. You see it sitting here in my garage. It really looks like a science fiction tank, like some kid made this up and put it in a video game. But in fact, it's actually a real tank, or a real prototype tank. Looking at Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is the absolute source of every piece of knowledge. It was developed by Aircraft Armaments for the US. It was supposed to replace the M41 Walker as an airborne tank to be dropped in with the airborne troops, and to support them, you can see that it's got a 50 caliber and a 30 caliber on those two little turrets there, and it's carrying, I believe, a 76 millimeter gun on it. That is correct, with a low profile turret. So it does have a low profile. I have my camo on it from the T28 HTC personal missions. Pretty cool looking little tank. So let's take a look at it. As usual, we'll do a quick overview. We'll take a look at some tech tree considerations. As a premium, you're going to want to think about what crews you're going to train in that. We'll talk about that. We'll do a comparison versus its peers. You can see those down in the garage down below. I'll let you know what my setup is. We'll talk a little bit about my stats so far. Only 10 games, but some things to talk about there. And then I've got 3 games as examples on how this tank plays. So we'll start with a general overview. I kind of covered what it is, a little bit about its history right there. It was never actually produced, so it wasn't accepted by the U.S. Army for production. They went on to the Sheridan eventually. But when you look at it and compare it here, you can tell that it is low profile. So that's going to help it a little bit in-game. Probably about as low as that. We'll go to the other one there. As low as the Bat Chat, which is a tiny little tank. And you can see they have a similar design. It had a semi-automatic, I believe is what they called it, loading mechanism. So it doesn't end up being an auto loader in the game of World of Tanks, but it does shoot relatively quickly. So there it is in all its glory. Pretty neat little tank. So let's move on then to the tech tree. For your tech tree considerations on a premium tank, you don't buy those so that you can train a premium crew. You buy them so you can train your other crews in the tank, as it gives you an experience bonus, plus they can make credits. We'll talk about its credit making capability in just a minute, but let's concentrate on the crews and how you want to train them. The line that it most closely supports is the Sheridan line, from the Sheridan to the T49, the Bulldog, and the T71 CMCD down to the T37. This light line splits right here at the Stuart, going up to the Chaffee and down to the M7. The M7, T21, and T71 DA line is a bit of a chocolate mess. It goes up to a medium, and then ends on a heavy right there. That may be re-wickered in the near future. But you're not going to train any scout crews in any of these tanks back here. The T71DA has only 3 crew members, and I failed to mention, obviously, that the T92 has 4. So the T71 only has 3, the T21 has 5, the M7 has 5, as I remember. That is true. And the M5 has 5 crew members down here. You look there and you can see that it has 5. Being the radio operator is kind of the extra guy that gets added or dropped as you get up into the Chaffee. Actually, on the Chaffee, it will be 5, so you're still carrying the radio operator, and then you will drop him, I believe, right here at the T37, and now you're down to the 4 crew member loadout with the exact same qualifications that you use in your T92. So it will train any of these crews right here. Obviously, it will train Chaffee and Stuart crews as well. You just will have some extra guys left out in the cold when you're trying to run the T92, and then if you've got the M7 and T21 crews, there's a guy who's not going to get trained by your T92. So there are some things to think about as you go through there, but you're probably not running your premium Scout T92 to train a really good Chaffee or Stuart crew. Maybe Chaffee, but probably not. So really end game is what you're looking at. Maybe the Sheridan, the T49, and the Bulldog, potentially down to the T71. this premium will train all of those crews no problem without leaving out anybody as you go through there. So next thing we'll talk about is a comparison amongst its peers. Alright, here it is on the comparison tool. As always, I've taken the tanks, I've gone to configure them, and what I've done is I have removed all the skills from whatever crew I have in there. I've set it at 100% crew, so each tank has a 100% crew standard as far as all this goes. Full modules, fully upgraded modules, and no equipment, so that we get a good true look at the comparison between each tank before we start adding on the various things that modify the tank. If you look at the tank T92, then I've got the Black Dog next to it, the Bulldog. That's a premium, obviously, the Black Dog, the Bulldog, and the rest of the guys that are Tier 8 scouts in there. So looking at an interesting thing about this tank is, right off the bat, you notice the average damage per shot is low. It's 150. It's a little pew-pew gun. The Batchat is even better. The Batchat 12T has 170. That is a bit of a limiting factor for the T92, and the reason is that at Tier 8, having a pew-pew gun is not nearly as good as it is down at 7, Tier 6, or Tier 5, where rapid-firing pew-pew guns can really tear into things. This thing can tear into tanks, but with the hit points and the armor at Tier 8 and above, it is a bit of a limiting factor without having a better alpha in there. And if you look at the penetration, it's a bit anemic, although there are a couple tanks that are worse than it, the Batchat and the LTTB being two examples. That was interesting to me because the LTTB being one of my favorite tanks, I don't have much trouble with it, and it doesn't feel like a 170 pen kind of tank, but you can see 175 is down there towards the bottom, but none of these tanks have amazing pen other than the WZ is up there at 189, but still, what is that, 14 points. So no big deal there. You can obviously run gold, which I will talk about in a minute because there is an interesting thing about the T92's gold. The rate of fire is the one thing that it's got. I've already discussed the pew-pew and its relative merits, of which there are not many for a Tier 8 light tank. So he's trading some things to get pew-pew, lots of shots out, but it doesn't really add much to the tank. Reload time is down low, turret traverse, all these tanks have really fast turrets. That's not going to be a limiting factor. It does win, or tie at least, in the elevation and depression fight, so it is a good ridge fighter, and as far as circling guys and not being too bothered by terrain, that is one of its strengths. It is a pretty good ambush tank, but again, you're relying on pew-pew and not kind of finishing touches like the 4190 GF has when he's dropping 240 on you, a full 90 hit points more, trying to kill off tanks that you're circling. Remember that the Batchat 12T is an autoloader, so that does come into account as far as looking at what these numbers mean. For the aiming time, 1.73, both it and the Black Dog are very good. Why exactly premiums have better aiming time than regular tech tree tanks is a mystery known only to wargaming. Dispersion is decent, not best in class, but they're all pretty close. If you look at that, it's 0.35 up to 0.38, not a big difference there. As far as DPM goes, the Black Dog wins and has for a long time. The Bulldog is really pretty good. The rest of them are lagging behind quite a bit. This is what I'm talking about on the 12T. This shows 1595 as an average damage, but remember it's a clip kind of tank, so it's got that burst potential. That's the trade-off that the tank makes as far as its DPM. Hit points on scouts at Tier 8, they're all within 100. That's not an amazing thing. There is no armor. We'll talk about my armor efficiency when we get to that point as we look at my current stats. It's pretty funny, actually. So it's not really going to bounce anything. The only tank in here that has any kind of real armor is the LTTB, and to some extent the WZ is okay. It's a really light tank. It's not quite as light as the Hawk or the Batchat, but it is quite light. So weight load limit is decent. It is pretty zippy. Engine power is at 600. What do we really care about? It's that top speed and backup speed. 60 is actually the lowest, which is interesting because it feels like a quite zippy tank. So I don't know if there's a whole lot of difference gameplay-wise between 60 and 72 that the Black Dog has. Now, obviously, you'd like to be faster if you could be, but realistically, in what that adds to gameplay value on the sides of the maps and the way the maps are designed, there's not a whole bunch that is added by that extra 12, but it is on the bottom end. Reverses 25 is quite fast. One thing you will find with this tank and these other scouts, and especially this one because it is so short, I guess, from the front to the back, is when you jam on the brakes and go from forward to back, which is completely unrealistic in World of Tanks because a tank can't do that, but this is an arcade game, you're going to notice that the body of this tank, and hence your gun, rocks like crazy. As far as you're going forward and you jam on the brakes, the nose is going to dig in quite a bit. If you have one of these or watch somebody playing it, zoom out a little bit and watch if he's doing that moving back and forth thing. The thing is rocking like crazy. It's really, really nuts. So the traverse speed is okay. All these are pretty good. The bat chat is sort of anemic. The rest of them are going to have no problem circling. The T92 is quite a good circler, actually. And that brings us down to the concealment, where it is nearly top in class. The bat chat is more stealthy, but it's at 18, so really pretty sneaky tank. So as far as a passive tank goes, it's quite good at that. So we can get to the spots relatively quickly. It can jump in, bush up. Its spotting, view range is at 400, not spotting, but view range is at 400. Not top of class. For some reason, the Hawk has been given 410, probably because it is such an universally awful tank in every other respect. At least it's got an extra 10 meters of view range. View range. Of course, it's so slow, it has trouble getting anywhere that matters. Anyway, we're not doing the Hawk. We're talking about the T92. And thank goodness for that signal range of 745, because that is so important in this game. All right, so there's a comparison. What does that mean overall? Well, it's decently fast. It's pretty stealthy. It's got good gun depression. The pew-pew sounds like a good idea on the surface, but it's not a great trade-off for the Scout. I would say out of the two premiums that are on this list, the M4190, the whole package, is far and away better than the T92. The T92 does match favorably to the Bulldog, but I think the Bulldog's better. The Hawk, the less we talk about that, the better. I like the LTTB best out of all of these, although I have to admit the 4190 is probably a better tank. Bat Chat is a gimmick tank. We'll just leave it at that. And the WZ is more like a medium than really a Scout tank. So that's kind of what you're seeing on all that with the comparison. From there, we'll move on to my setup. Talk a little bit about that gold round thing that I just mentioned. For my setup, you can see right here, there are no modules on a premium tank to upgrade. They're all at the top module. So I'm carrying a rammer, I've got binocs, I have a camouflage net. As always, I know that that is not the most popular. Most people are going to run coated optics and vents on this Scout. I just like to passive when I can, even though I realize that passive days are well over a long time ago. Still, that's how I've set it up. Like I said, though, if you wanted to drop vents on it and coated optics, that would be good too, and would make it a very good little active scouter. With its speed and low profile, it does pretty well at that. I'm carrying 53, and oh, by the way, APCR happens to be its standard round. Of those, I have 4 heat rounds and 3 HE. It carries a ton of ammo, so you should not run into problems with the ammo. I have a small repair, small med kit, and a large fire extinguisher on it. But let's take a look at something that's interesting on this tank and drives me just a little bit batty. Take a look at the cost of the heat shell. A heat shell for 150 alpha is 5,600 credits if you're doing it with silver. Let's go over to the Black Dog and find out what the Black Dog costs. He's firing a 250 alpha shell with more DPM at only 4,800 credits. So be careful with your gold rounds on the T92. You're not getting as great a value as you could. I believe the rest of these tanks, I looked at them, they're nowhere near. There's 3,200 for the LTTB. Let's look at the WZ, who's kind of known for a good gun. He's closer at 44, but still well below the 5,000. What was it? 600 ridiculousness of the cost of a... I don't even... Where do you even start with that? The penetration is a 210 average penetration. That maybe is the issue. Let's take a look. Penetration on this guy is... Oh. Yeah, so... I don't know what they're trying to pull on that one, but it is a bit of a joke right there as far as the gun goes. All right, let's move on to my stats. All right, as far as my stats go, you can see that I've got them called up right here. I've only played it 10 times, so you don't draw too much from this, but it is looking about like the Bulldog, the American Bulldog, another Tier 8 medium as far as what I've done in it. 50%, it's 10 battles, so low sample size, but I'm averaging here to 1.44 damage ratio, 1.75 destruction ratio. I said we'd talk about the armor use efficiency. I apparently have not blocked a single shot with this tank, or maybe it's one out of every shot and it just hasn't quite tripped the 0.01, which would be the lowest number that this shows as far as decimal points go. So that is kind of interesting. 864 experience is a little bit low, but again, low sample size. I expect that will probably come up a little bit. Damage caused 1200 and received 875 and 575 assist, with 3.9 spotted and 1.4 destroyed. So if we look at the Bulldog, you'll notice that the numbers are actually pretty similar. I have a better experience, average experience on that. The damage caused is very similar right there. 1200, 1200, 11. You go to the T49. My T49 stats are pretty close to all those numbers, although my damage ratio and destruction are lower. But even on the Bulldog, I have a 0.01 armor use efficiency, and on the T49 is another 0 right there. But that's something you're going to have with Scouts, obviously, in there. So it is trending and tracking about the same as my other two American Tier 8 light tanks. So that's what I've done so far. Let's take a look at 3 different games, and I'll give you some of the gameplay for a T92, what you can expect from it. And overall, it is pretty similar to just about any light tank, minus the fact that its alpha is a little bit anemic. Of course, there's the crew to talk about as well when you come up here. I currently have the T71 CMCD crew in there, but I have other crew I could obviously pop in there with the Sheridan that I own. I have all those tanks on that line. Brothers in Arms is always a good thing to have immediately for a light tank, and Sixth Sense is absolutely crucial. There's a couple ways to get to that. One way to do it is just run Brothers in Arms your first skill, and then jump onto the Sixth Sense on your second skill. But you're going to be running around quite a long time without Sixth Sense. Another option is to put Sixth Sense first and put some other useful stuff like Concealment, which is what you can see on my second skill for all these guys, in your first slot, and then do Brothers in Arms second. Both of those are ways to do it without spending gold. Another way then, obviously, is to train up Brothers in Arms or something else along the way. Probably not Brothers in Arms, I'd say Concealment initially, something that can be used, and then pay gold to switch that first skill when it gets to 100% over to Sixth Sense. Or you can just clearly bring a guy over that already has Sixth Sense. So there's lots of ways to do that, but as far as the setup goes, Brothers in Arms, Sixth Sense, and I'm working on Recon. So anything that's going to increase the view range, spotting capability of the tank is going to be good. If we take a look at the commander here and his skills, he's also the radio operator, which is pretty typical of the higher tier tanks. So he has 2 different skills that are going to give him a little extra spotting range. And so once I finish off the Recon, I'll be jumping on the situational awareness. For the rest of these guys, doing something that is going to increase your concealment, like I've got right there, and increase your capability to shoot in the case of the gunner. So I've got snapshot going on. And then on the driver, smooth ride, which is going to help me shoot in circling situations, things like that. You can also do, I wouldn't worry too much about the traverse, whatever that one's called, that makes you traverse faster. But if you wanted to get the one that helps you out in the muddy terrain, let's find out what the heck they're called, because I can never remember what on earth they're actually called. I just know what they do. There we go. Off-road driving and clutch braking are the 2 I'm talking about. Those are obviously players there, but I'd rather get the offensive stuff, and then the next skill, I'll go ahead and add one of those 2 there. But that's really to taste. This guy, the loader, is loading safe storage, or training safe storage after he's got his Sixth Sense, after he has his Brother in Arms and his Concealment right there. For the first gameplay example, we'll show a little bit of passive scouting with the T92. You can see that I have loaded into Siegfried line, and we've got a 2-tier battle, a 5-10. It is an encounter battle, and we have spawned down into the south, And I'm going to head up to one of the favorite bushes for spotting, one of the very few that are left on any of the denuded maps, which is this tree clump right here and a couple bushes. And you'll see that the T92 actually has a nice speed and is small and is able to kind of stick itself in there. I don't know if you noticed the rocking as I jammed on the brakes, how much that thing rocks back and forth. And right away getting a lot of good spotting. So I'm carrying the binoculars, the camo net, I've got concealment. The tank has very good concealment, so you are going to be quite safe in these situations. Clearly I can't fire. If I fire, I'm going to be spotted immediately. Quite a few light tanks have gone over to the west side, and I'm getting a lot of spotting. I'm not getting a lot of spotting damage because several other scouts went over there, and my entire team is really enamored of the scouts and is not interested in shooting any of these guys right here. The problem is none of my team stayed back up on these hills to get shots on these guys. They're all clustered up down here. We're heading for town, and that's a good thing too, but I just have all kinds of targets for them down here, and unfortunately I am not getting any of the damage. But I am keeping these guys spotted. You can see a T49 has moved around behind me and is going after our RU over there, and I am quite happily sitting here being unspotted in this bush. I might actually be sticking out a little more than I want to be at the back end if they had actually got around to my south side, but I've got to refrain from shooting. But as you can see, very good concealment on this tank. That was weird. I don't know why it does that. It seems to only do it in replays. Now you'll see that a low is getting quite close, and a low doesn't have great spotting, and I'm going to be able to just sit here unspotted this whole time, no problem. E50, he's got better view range, better spotting. He doesn't see me either. Got a Scorpion G way out there. I've managed to get about 480 spotting damage so far. I'm finally getting some tanks spotted and damaged. Now, what's interesting here is between me and the RU is we're keeping all these guys on the lower edge of the town right here spotted the whole time. So they're not ever going to go dark. And what's going to happen is their sixth sense won't go off again, and it may be that they figure they've gone dark if they remain spotted the whole time and they don't know they're actually spotted. In the case of the ones that go away and come back, they'll know because their sixth sense is going to go off and they'll know there's somebody close enough that's seeing them. Now we've got a 416 trolling around. Scorpion G gets out of the field, heads up that way. I have to watch the WZ and the M41 though, because if they get past that 251, I'm going to have trouble. Team is starting to work into the town, and you can see we've just got all kinds of guys stacked up on this lower edge. Bit of a strange fight in that way, to be quite honest. You don't usually see that very much, where all these guys are fighting in the bottom edge down here. The low is looking around and wondering why he keeps getting hammered. And all I can do is just check around and see, alright, where is everything? I can't fire. I'm looking for potentially at some point I'm going to need to make a breakout. So there's a little spotting for me on the low. Spotting damage. The guys around the corner don't see him. I'm the one getting the spotting. A WZ-111 is pushed up to the west side. Now a 416's moved up nice and close, and I'm still not spotted by anyone. And he's sitting there. And unfortunately, they take down my 251. And so now I've really got to think about this. I probably need to break out here at some point. But I need several of these tanks to be dead or much closer to death so I can get going. Time is not now, though. And this is a situation where the pew-pew gun becomes a bit of an issue, because even the Black Dog is probably not going to one-shot the low, but it's definitely going to take me 2, probably 3 to take him down. Whereas the Black Dog has a chance of high rolling or potentially just 2 shots. And now we got a Bulldog who's coming right in on me. I'm figuring he might spot me, but just this concealment is really good. He goes all the way by there, doesn't see me at all, and up into town. So now I'm starting to think about, you know what, it's getting to that point. There's only a few guys down here. I don't want the WZ to come around behind me. So it's probably getting close to time for me to do something against these guys. And once I do that, I'll have to break out and get out of there. So I got the Bulldog getting in there. He's tearing guys up. And I'll just go. take him down. Unfortunately, it wasn't me that did it. I'll just auto-aim this guy and shoot him on the way. See, the dispersion is pretty nice. The tank actually has a pretty good gun as far as the dispersion goes. I'm hitting this guy in the run. There he goes. Nice fast tank, little tank, hard to hit. Once you do start moving, shucking and jiving, it'll be hard to hit. WZ has moved up there into the west side, so I'll just swing back around and I'll start trying to help out this Type 59. And again, we'll see how this pew-pew gun goes here. I'm able to drop one on. It's going to take me quite a long time to get another shot that actually goes through. Unfortunately, I'm firing heat and I'm shooting it right at a heavily armored, spaced armor profile kind of tank. So the front's not really going to be good. The sides are going to kind of be bad. I'm trying to maybe track them as well. Maybe the side of the turret if I can get into it. That doesn't even manage to track it. So I'm getting low module damage because this thing is just this little pew-pew and I can't really manage to do anything to this guy. Get one into the side of the turret, finally put some damage on him. There we go. That one finally snuck by the tracks and got in under the spaced armor and took him down. WZ is running away. So nice fast reload. Again, just not hitting very hard. Just doesn't hit very hard. Moving on forward, we'll just speed this up a little bit because it takes a while for me to get in here. WZ is in pretty good shape. I'll come through this opening in the tank traps. And here comes the other T92. Shoot him once, looking for a ram, but he actually dodges me. And somebody else nukes him as I'm trying to get by. So it ends up being 1,000 damage, 813 spotting. Not a amazing game, but it does show the capability of it as a passive scouter, passive spotter. It is quite capable. And like most games like that where you get some decent spotting damage, there is a point at which you've got to break cover, get out there and help your team to win the game. Let's move on to the next example. In our second example, I've loaded into a 357. We are here in Erlenberg. I'm top tier. On this example, I'm going to show you one of the things this tank excels at is just being a really annoying harassment vehicle. When you've got the little light tanks with those kind of pew-pew guns, one of the things you can do is really just annoy the living heck out of everyone. Coming from multiple directions, firing often, and just being really irritating. So I'll get a shot on that bulldog. Trying to find out if they got any guys coming this way. I'll come up here, light off my binoculars, and start seeing guys. Just annoying, right? I'm right there. He pops up. He gets hit in the face, and I jump down behind a bush. Get some help coming around behind me. Not much over on the east side. I'm just at this point trying to find out where are these guys. There's a T25. A Skoda in there, there's a bulldog. The depression you can see now, I'm basically pointed upwards with my hole, but I've got plenty of depression. I'll just hold that shot there. There's an ARL, and then a T28 HTC just drives up right next to me, and he's going to get me aggro if I stick here too long. So I'm just going to go ahead, take a shot, be annoying, pop on back, and I find a bulldog down below us. Nice fast backward speed. I just dive right off this, turn around, and let's start working here on this bulldog, just being annoying. Pew pew shot. Our comet charges in, not really sure why, but there he goes, and I'm able to annoy that bulldog some more. And he's making a run for it. Boom. Just a good example of the alpha, just the alpha is hurting on this thing. I probably would have got as many shots with the black dog there, but I'd have come closer to killing if not been able to kill. End up hitting the wall there. End up being able to kill the running away bulldog if I'd have had more alpha. So just being annoying, I get in there, take the T25 down, accept the shot from the bulldog. Trying to get this T29 who's pushed around the corner. We're in a bit of a pickle right here. As long as I can kind of hold this spot and look for the opportunity to be extremely annoying, maybe we can turn this thing around. T29 gets absolutely hammered right there. Bulldog's still trolling around in the middle. There's a Challenger there. What I really need to do, though, is I need to be that annoying guy looking for different angles and getting rid of guys like that right there who are pushing in on us. If I can get rid of guys like that, then I can turn around and I can start dealing with guys like him. But good on him for charging us. That actually helps us. A little pew-pew there. Auto-aim, missed. Oh, darn it, there's a guy right there. Checking the Bulldog. Nope, don't have to deal with him. He just YOLO'd in and died. And then here comes the annoyance on this poor Challenger. I'm not hitting him hard, but I'm hitting him a lot. Bam, bam. Just show a little bit of the turret. Low profile tank, hard to hit. Hit that guy again, and just, like I said, just being super annoying. Down he goes with some spotting there from the KV2, and we got another KV2 coming up. He's not looking at me. Here comes Mr. Annoying once again, just popping guys in the side of the turret, using that mobility that the tank has. The KV2's down there. This ARL is out in the open, so let's go ahead and get rid of that guy. Back down. The Rev wants to try to get a shot. I'll back off this. Good reverse speed helps me get away. And the 12T YOLOs. Don't know why. I don't know what he exactly thought was going to happen there. But it was not the time to push in on that guy. Not with all the support that the team has. The enemy team has still up on that hill behind us. Again, just right back to this bush, just being annoying. KV2 is looking at me, so I'll back up. They just don't know where you're going to come from. Looking for an opportunity there. KV2 is kind of alone. We've got a super person now that's come up next to me. I'll find out what we can do. Is the Rev coming? I don't want him to come around on our side right there. Looks like the west side, even though it was weaker, did not face as many tanks and is doing a good job of winning that side. Now the KV2 is pushing in. So this will be showing you another strength of this tank. KV2 is going at these guys. He gets hammered, and that's my opportunity. So now, nice fast tank. Come on in here, assassinate that KV2 as a one shot, and just swing right around with my speed and get right back over where I was and be annoying again. The Rev is probably the biggest issue we've got to deal with right now. Looks like a 304 is pushing up. Don't really know why I shot into a building there, but there you go. Let's find the Revolorize thing. That 01's probably not long for the world. Not too worried about what's going on that side, so no need to flex across. We just need to hunt down this Rev. Initially, I think I'm going to go, then I hesitate, and I wish I had gone. Looks like the Super's pushing up on him, so the time is now. The time was already passed. I should have gone after this guy already. So we'll just go in. He takes a shot. I come in and auto-aim this guy. See the pretty good gun depression. Just swinging right around. Bam, hit him again. Just an incredibly annoying scout tank. Get hit by my own artillery, it appears. Thanks for that. Can't quite get around. Am I going to get around? Yes, I got around. And then down goes the Rev. It was a little bit dicey there at the end because I got hit by my own artillery and stunned. Otherwise, I go right around him, no problem. You can see it's a very good circling tank. All those shots just constantly coming out, annoying everything in sight. Its ability to move around the battlefield, get to its position, and start hammering things. So I bounce off this Jackson. And he's got a pretty rapid-firing tank, rapid-firing gun, so he's going to hit me hard a couple times. Lights me on fire. Thankfully, I have an automatic fire extinguisher, which everyone should be carrying in every tank. And down for the 6-kill Top Gun, 3,000 damage. Turns out to only be a Class 1, actually, so people are doing pretty well in this tank. I want to say it's 1,400 base. Not even good enough for an ace tanker, but pretty good game, and a good example of what this thing can do as far as being a harasser, which is one of the roles of a scout, and then an assassinator for cleaning up near-deads or isolated tanks. Let's move on to the third example. For the third example, we'll show another role of light tanks, and this tank can actually do this as well, and that is to take critical terrain on maps. Mines is a great example of that. Obviously, everybody knows taking the hill can be critical to victory. Do you always have to take it? No. Do you have to typically retake it if you lost it to win? Yeah, typically. It's very difficult to win without it. So as I looked at this game, as I loaded in a 3-5-7, I am there in the middle tier. Looking at what we have and what they have, I figure we definitely have a chance to take the hill. So let's see how that goes down. I've got a T49 with me. He's a little bit faster, so he's able to get there in front, so I'll just follow that guy up. Be careful about following guys right on their butt, because if they get tracked, you get jammed up as well. Coming around here, snap a shot. I'm able to put one into that T54, and now we've got this T20, poor guy. Shoot in there and get him tracked, and I'm thinking I'm going to get another track, but he actually fixes it right there, and wham, we take down what looked to be a 3-marked T20. He's trying to get to that little hold down spot right there, but never got there. And now harassing fire. That's not going to do it. I'll switch over to my heat because I know I'm trying to get through the front of this T54. What I was hoping is to see him fire, and then I could pop out there and take shots on him. What I didn't notice immediately is that we had a bit of a situation developing over on the west side as they have tanks coming down and around us. Their T92 is actually over there, and their T71 CMCD is taking the middle. This T54 decides to try to get out, so I'll punish him a little bit. He's taking shots as he runs. Take another shot on him, and back I go. So taking critical terrain, this thing can do it. It's got the speed. You can see how it rocks back and forth because it's so skinny. It's just kind of crazy. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Somebody was watching me play it on the stream, and they were saying they're getting seasick watching it. Look at the reverse speed on that thing, how I'm able to just drive backwards up onto things like that. Not many tanks can do that backwards. I do some kind of bad gunnery right here. I should have hit this guy at least twice. I think I might have actually come close to hitting my own guy there, and fortunately someone finally kills him. You can see the Tiger P, got a shot on there. Pretty accurate gun. And again, the pew-pew nature of this thing and its reloads is, it's just going to take me forever to whittle down this Tiger P. Got some help from guys. Can't quite track him. And down he goes. Now I'm going to come off this little hill. This part of the hill, start looking around. Actually, I need to look. See how it just reverses right up that thing? Good power to weight ratio on this thing. Come around looking for shots. There's a AT-15 up on their cap, so I do need to watch out for that. But I'll show you some pretty good depression on this thing. There's some tanks that have a hard time using this spot right here. Can you see how it rises up? Shot right into the ground, unfortunately. Just taking shots at this IS as he's goofing off right here. Another shot into him and I'll back up. He eats the shot that he probably intended me to have. What I really want to do is get into the back of that Super Pershing, but now he backs down. I need this IS to go away so I can do it. Now I'm just taking aggro from the artillery. The M12 ends up hitting me a couple times in this game. I need to find a way to get onto the edge there and start shooting down onto those guys. So I'll back out of there. Still trying to figure out how I can do this. And there goes him. I'd really like to hit this guy in the back, but he's heading out. So I'm going to get one shot at him as he's getting away. And I'll just back up here and get out of here. Oh, there's a T-71. There's an artillery. Put a shot on him. Boom! There's the M12 once again. That's what I get for stopping in a position after I'm spotted with an artillery clown around. M12 goes down. That's good. They're down to 4 tanks, one of them being the AT-15. So it's time to move around this way and see if I can't start picking at these guys from a different angle. Okay, so I'm able to put shots into his side now that he's tracked. A couple more into him. Down he goes. Again, swinging to that annoying scout capability where you start surrounding guys. You've got the speed. You can just get in there and just wreak havoc as they start turning their turrets and trying to deal with you. He misses for a wonder. I'll actually just go by him. right by the T10. I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to hide right here. And like, uh-oh, I did not bring enough friends. Make him miss, thank goodness. This guy reloaded a lot faster than I thought he might right here. He just really wants to shoot me. So unfortunately I let him have that shot. That was not the ideal move on my part, but you can see then the tank does excel at that very fast assassination kind of move right there. Again though, the pew pew does hurt it a little bit in that respect. Pretty good little tank. Well, that is it for the review of the T92. As far as an overall assessment of it goes, I try not to do the 4-star, 5-star, 7 of 10, all that kind of thing. It all really is quite subjective. But I will compare it a little bit against the rest of the tanks. The things that drive me a little bit crazy about it are the heat cost. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that. The things that are great about it is obviously it is a premium tier 8 light tank, and those are few and far between. Premium light tanks themselves are few and far between. It will train the crews that you want for the American light tanks quite well. Plus it's a very capable, not OP light tank itself. I would definitely say that if we were getting into a ranking and comparison, let's just leave it that if you have a chance to get the Black Dog and you want the German light tank, you don't really need an American light tank. The Black Dog is far and away better than the T92, but the Black Dog is verging on being OP. The T92 is very serviceable. It's a good tank. If you have a chance to buy it and you're in the market for a light tank crew trainer for the Americans, you could do a lot, well, I was going to say you could do a lot worse, but you can't do anything else. Let's say you could do a lot worse premium tank-wise than a T92 if that's what you were looking to spend some money on as a premium tank. There you have it. This is Guido signing out. Thanks, guys, for checking out the channel and checking out my review of the T92. Leave your comments down below. And as always, we will see you.